Mario as a gaming franchise of course needs no introduction. It's been a part of mainstream consciousness since the early days of the NES and really hasn't slowed down since. In fact, they're only expanding even more, now with an official Super Mario Bros. Movie. But like many franchises and game series that have been around for this long, there are bound to be spooky secrets, Easter eggs, mysteries, urban legends, and theories in the games, and a lot of them in Mario come from Super Mario 64, which I already did an entire video about. But there is more than just that game. In fact, there's been urban legends around since the early NES days of Mario. So much like we did with Mario 64, we're going to take a look at the myths and urban legends from across the franchise and various games. So sit back, grab a blanket, snacks, and relax as we jump into some Mario urban legends and myths explained. Mario is a serial killer. Coming right out of the gate with a crazy but technically plausible theory. Let me explain. So this all started thanks to something said in the instructional manual of the original Super Mario Bros. Game for the NES, and it states, quote, "One day the kingdom of the peaceful mushroom people was invaded by the Koopa, a tribe of turtles famous for their black magic. The quiet, peace-loving mushroom people were turned into mere stones, bricks, and even field horse plants, and the mushroom kingdom fell into ruin." So yeah, basically this passage kind of suggests that the toads were turned into bricks, at least some of them were, which some have theorized could possibly be the brick blocks that Mario breaks throughout the game, unintentionally killing many toads along his journey. However, it does further clarify, saying, quote, "If you come across mushrooms who have been turned into bricks or made invisible, they reward you by giving you a power boost." So it seems they aren't actually the standard brick blocks that Mario breaks, but actually the question mark and hidden blocks. And I guess they're just invisible afterwards? I mean, it's not really clear, but Mario is able to destroy these blocks in New Super Mario Bros. While using the Mega Mushroom. However, it's only the first game that actually has Bowser transforming these toads, supposedly. Still, it's an interesting myth and theory. Super Mario Galaxy Hidden Message. This is kind of a strange thing found related to Super Mario Galaxy, but basically in September of 2007, shortly before its official release in early November, there was a post made on the forums of NeoGAF about the game's logo, which stated that specific letters actually had a small light attached to them, which if you put all these letters together would spell "You're Mr. Gay," which some interpreted as some sort of hidden message from the logo's artist, and this trend also continued further, but this time admittedly it's an even bigger stretch, with the Super Mario Galaxy 2 logo reading "YAIMRU," which people interpreted as "Yeah I am, are you?" And then also with an early version of Super Mario Odyssey, some people claimed it read "Mario DYS," or "Mario Dies." But people are definitely pushing it with these, but still it's interesting nonetheless. Anti-piracy screens. So this became a really big trend a couple of years ago, with people making some really intentionally creepy anti-piracy measures in games, which for the most part were hoaxes. Although the concept was always there, as in some games there are some really creative anti-piracy measures, but they're usually not creepy. Like you got the one in GTA 4 which makes your character drunk permanently, or in Game Dev Tycoon where ironically your games get pirated and you can't make any money. But for the Mario games in particular, there are a ton of interesting and creative ones. All of which are not real sadly, but still are great to look at. You've got ones for Mario 64 and Mario Kart, but the most famous one is probably the one posted in 2020 for Mario Party DS, which likely promoted this trend heavily that year and got a lot of people interested in these fake yet creepy anti-piracy screens. Although, like with anything horror related on the internet, it starts relatively tame with more realism focus, and then just goes completely off the rails insanity and it really just stops making any sense. But either way, these are still very fun to look at. Super Mario FX. I believe I've talked about this briefly before, but essentially this was a rumored Mario game being developed for the SNES as the first true 3D platformer in the series, using something called the Super FX chip, which is actually real and has been used to render 3D polygons for the SNES. And it was believed that this 3D platformer was actually a precursor to Mario 64 and was being worked on during the creation of Star Fox based on an interview with Miyamoto. Although he could have just been referring to the idea of Super Mario 64 and Project Reality, which would become the N64 itself. Additionally, it's also believed by some that Super Mario FX could have just been the codename for the actual chip itself at some point. Dr. Mario Antivirus. Here we have an interesting hoax that was perpetuated for a while by various publications regarding a Dr. Mario edition of Norton Antivirus, which first started circulating in 2008 thanks to an article published about a gaming edition of the software that would make it easier to run games while having the antivirus run in the background. However, the confusion comes in with this specific image, which origins now cannot be traced back. And for some reason, this started being shared around in relation to this upcoming software, but when it was actually released, there was no Mario in it and it wasn't licensed for the character or anything, meaning the fake image was spread around unknowingly, most likely due to a Kotaku article, first starting this rumor released back in November of 2008. Hell Valley Sky Trees. So this is definitely one of the most famous and intriguing mysteries in the entire Mario franchise. Basically, it all starts in Super Mario Galaxy 2, released in 2010, in World 5, Shiver Burn Galaxy, where players, when looking into the background in first-person mode, can see some strange, small, shadowy figures off in the distance. They also even appear in World S and Grandmaster Galaxy. So what's going on here? Well, we're not really sure, but there are some clues into this mystery, the biggest of which was found by data miners looking into the game when they found the files for the mountain as well as the actual figures, labeled Beyond Hell Valley Sky and Hell Valley Sky Trees respectively, which are pretty ominous names considering this is a Mario title, but they are just internal names not meant to be seen by just anyone. But going further in and no clipping to actually see them, they are actually far bigger than they seem from such a distance away. But as for what these actually are, we don't really know still. Although guesses range from skinwalkers to shadow people to even Kodama, also known as tree spirits of Japanese folklore. Claudia Koopa. So this is a rumor that started from an alleged Nintendo magazine from the UK, which some reference as Nintendo Power UK, although that magazine by that specific name doesn't actually exist. Still, they talk about Bowser's supposed wife called Claudia Koopa, who was first introduced through this, but there really is no real evidence of this rumor being true. Images typically associated with this, showing female Koopa characters, are actually usually from a Nintendo comic called Koopa's High School Yearbook. And the name of the character also probably originated from a website called The Lemmy's Land, where the character of Claudia appears as an OC from the creator of the website, which is likely how this rumor got started in the first place. Super Mario 3 is a stage play. Most people will know that this isn't really a myth and more so a fact and proven theory, not only just by speculation, but also by Miyamoto himself, who stated in an interview that yes, Super Mario 3 is actually a stage play, and it is pretty obvious if you've played the game. For example, just from the main menu alone, you get to see a curtain opening, and then in-game, the blocks featured in the levels have shadows appearing on the background, meaning it's like just a wall, and of course they're also bolted to it, and when you finish the level, you actually exit off of the stage. Also, there's even a way to go behind it with the white block secret, so yeah, not like anyone doubted this, but I thought it would be interesting to mention. Minus World. So like many I'm sure already know, this is no myth, but rather a real glitched level in Super Mario Bros., the original game for the NES from 1985. Although many do believe that it was designed and not actually created on accident, making people think that there were more secret levels and such hidden throughout the game, such as the infamous chocolate level, which is something I talked about in the video game Hoaxes iceberg. But getting back to Minus World itself, it's a glitch that's accessed through World 1-2, through going through the bricks near the warp zone, allowing Mario to go through the pipe and arrive at World -1, which is where the name actually comes from. Jimmy Papadopoulos. Here we got another interesting hoax, this time related to the real name of Waluigi, which was said to be Jimmy Papadopoulos, as shown in a fake Nintendo Power scan which was posted on Twitter in July of 2020. It reads, quote, "Wario wouldn't be embarrassed ever again. He went online to an actor for hire site, and lo and behold, there was Jimmy Papadopoulos. Or maybe you might recognize him by his legally and permanently changed name ever since 1999, Waluigi. Wario hired him for freelance for the tennis tourney. The rest is history, or is it?" But this image is actually a fake, as it is dated from 2000, but uses images from Mario Party 7 released in 2005. And of course there is the real September issue, which does have Waluigi much like the fake, but it is actually in relation to the Waluigi toenail clipping game, which I know sounds pretty wild, but I also discussed this in the Lost Media Iceberg, so check that out if you're interested. There's a ton of crazy stuff there. But yeah, no mention of Waluigi's real name in there. Luigi's Mansion Beta. Now, Luigi's Mansion, while not really that creepy by the standards of, well, horror titles, it is creepy for a Mario franchise game. And with something like that, you know there are bound to be myths and urban legends that come from this, especially if the game in question had some beta versions with cut content that makes people speculate on what could really be missing, such as with the E3 2001 playable demo that had some notable differences, as well as what could be found in the October 2001 issue of Nintendo Power, which showed some things from early builds that were never seen again, such as the early version of the Safari Room, which led to further rumors of a hunter boss and some much darker elements of the game that have not since surfaced. I grant your kids to hell. Very interesting one here. Basically, in the game WarioWare Touched, some thought that there was some sort of satanic ritual happening, which is a wild claim, right? But this is because of some lyrics heard in the song Ashley's Song, which when played at a fast speed would sound like, I have granted kids to hell, or I grant your kids to hell. However, it seems that this is just another one of those cases of hearing something because we want to, or because we're already thinking that that's what is being said, kind of like other cases of alleged hidden messages in reverse songs and whatnot, but let me know what you think. Mario's last name. Bit of a meme here, yes, but hear me out. Really, what is Mario and Luigi's last name? They have none, right? Which is kind of weird, I guess. They've always been referred to as just the Mario Brothers, which is pretty disrespectful to my man Luigi, but he puts up with it. Although, as ridiculous as it sounds, it's been referenced a few times that Mario might actually be their last name, as at the 30th anniversary of Super Mario Bros., Miyamoto said his full name was actually Mario Mario. Mario is a hallucinating drug addict. Another fun but morbid theory about a child-friendly character, absolute classic at this point. Anyway, you probably know how this goes. Basically, it is believed by some that the mushrooms Mario eats that give him powers are actually hallucinogenic mushrooms, or shrooms inspired by the real-life drugs. Which sounds kinda crazy, but really, I mean, it does kind of make sense, right? But Miyamoto has stated in interviews that mushrooms were more so chosen because of their relation to various folktales as a magical substance or food, such as with Alice in Wonderland. Will that stop me from thinking Mario is high on shrooms when he is a plumber stomping on giant turtles and whatever these things are? No. Also, it's probably likely that in a lot of these folk tales, mushrooms were chosen as the magical substance, if you will, because of its hallucinogenic properties. Or maybe it's for an entirely different reason, I don't know. But will I choose to keep believing this? Yes. And now for the final and most important entry. Is Source Brew really that bad at Mario? Yes. That's all, that's it. Also, let me know if there's any other interesting Mario myths down in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.